And welcome everybody to the Just Joking podcast. I am one half of the Just Joking podcast, King, and I got my main man Joe sitting over here next to me. Not sitting over here, but virtually sitting over here next to me. Joe, what's going on, pimp?
What's up, man?
Hey man, long time no see, man. I know me and you both have our, group chats and things that
Mm.
we're in. And you live right down the road, but brother, it's been a minute since we've seen each other in person.
Yeah, ever since we started doing these virtual podcasts, man, we haven't hung out in a while. We got to do that. We got to go out somewhere and go chill, grab some food or something.
Absolutely. Food is something that King and food have a very, very nice working relationship with each
Hmm.
other. Father's Day was this past weekend, man. How was your Father's Day?
I was sick all Father's Day,
Ooh.
yeah, I didn't really do much. But I mean, that's as much as I wanted to do on Father's Day, anyways. I just wanted to just kind of vegetate and enjoy myself. I watched some old movies. I watched like Escape from L.A. Uh, Realized Bruce Campbell was in it. Completely forgot he was in that movie.
I like Bruce
Um,
Campbell.
yeah, he's fucking great. But yeah, I mostly vegetated. I was sick, but how about you? What'd you do for Father's Day?
Oh man. Um Me and my daughter, we went to this spot in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania called New Village Inn. I believe it's like a Italian pasta place. It looks like a very like mom and pop ran joint. And for those of y'all that are watching or listening, that's a whole like 50-minute drive from
Yeah,
where I live. But I went there a couple of months ago with a friend of mine that lives close to the area. And my daughter really enjoyed it. And she asked me, she said, "Hey, dad, for like Father's Day brunch or whatnot or dinner, is it okay for us to go there?" And I'm like, absolutely. I've got the time, I've got the money, and you recommending stuff to do to spend time with dear old dad, I will absolutely make that drive. And we ended up going out there and had a really good time. It was our second time eating there, and the food was just as good as it was the first time around, as well as the staff as well.
nice,
So, and
nice.
then after that, we came back home. I wanted to go strawberry picking with her. That's something that I've never done, and there's a couple of different strawberry fields that are out near that way. But she has a walking boot on from an old foot sprain injury, and she was just like, "I want to get back to the crib and just relax."
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There's a really good strawberry picking place that we go to.
ooh,
That's not like maybe 20 minutes away.
okay.
Maybe it's probably closer than that. It's a Butler's Orchard. If you've never been,
I've never been. I've never heard
yeah,
of it either.
it,
So,
it's super nice. I mean, it's really good. They got a ton of stuff you can do that like a bunch of different crops you can go for. There we go for them for strawberries, and then there's another place for apple picking if you want to do apple picking. That's up towards Emmitsburg.
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, bunch of great stuff like that. Whenever her boots off.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, hey, man, let's get into the show here. But before we get into the main topic, which is how do you know when you've made it? What's the criteria for that? I want to share a segment here. It's something that me and you talked about in our private channel, and it's at what point is freedom of speech really free, and what
Mm,
does that mean? So I'm going to share a little 2-minute video here of an incident that happened, and we'll talk about it after the video plays. All right, let's do this. Let's share the screen. I want to make sure the audio is included. Let's make
here,
this
here.
joint bigger and hit the play button.
Woman and a man, an Amazon driver rather, quickly got out of hand. The delivery woman was arrested. KTVU crime reporter Henry Lee joins us with more on what led up to this attack. Henry.
Yeah, Andre, it all started when this victim was wondering where her package was. She started arguing with this Amazon delivery woman, and soon that worker began throwing punches. This is surveillance video showing two women arguing outside an apartment complex in Castro Valley. The one on the left is an Amazon delivery worker. The one on the right, a 67-year-old tenant. Soon, this happens.
That verbal altercation became physical.
The Amazon worker lets loose, attacking the victim when her back.
Uh-oh. I'm on Wi-Fi right now, or not Wi-Fi, wireless, so signal might not be that strong. Let's see. Let me hit pause to let this kind of load up a bit.
It looks like it's buffered.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about. Let's see if I can skip ahead a little bit. You know what? The whole video's not going to play, so we can just do that here. Let me bring this off. And the main point of the video was pretty much shown right there. And to kind of give a recap, since the whole video is not going to play, the lady and the Amazon worker was outside. It sounded like the lady that was waiting on her package had some few choice words to say to the Amazon driver. And while the lady was walking away, right, going like she was going back towards her door, that's when you see the driver just unload. Bow! And I have to wonder, what did she say to that lady to get her to cause herself to lose all composure and just say, screw it, you know? And it makes me, wonder that, and also think too, so there's this thing, man, freedom of speech. Everybody's got it, but what does that truly mean? Does freedom of speech also entitles you to freedom of consequence? What do you think?
And see, and that's where I recognize that, yeah, you have the right to say what you want. I don't necessarily know that you have the right to say hurtful shit,
Mm-hmm.
because consequence exists. And I would like to believe that when they came up with the freedom of speech, they intended it to be used responsibly. I mean, everything about the Constitution screams responsibility. There was a few things, obviously, that were wrong because there was a lot of things that had to be grown as a people and as a country and as a world. But the intent was for responsibility and ownership of oneself and what we do. So people are like, oh, you can't infringe upon my rights to free speech. It's like, my fist can infringe upon your face. You know what I mean? Like, say what you want. It's not going to stop. Like, I have the freedom to rebut, and that might be, my fist in your face. You know what I mean? My rebuttal, you may not enjoy it. But I mean, and of course, then there's the consequence of going to jail because you beat somebody's ass. But depending on what they said, they could be in equal as much trouble. So I mean, that's something people have to recognize. I don't agree with what she did because she sucker punched her. I think she should have squared up on her like an OG. You know what I mean? Just like while she's looking, be like, "Look, lady, here it comes." Bam. I mean, she's 67. I don't know if that Amazon worker knew that, but that Amazon worker certainly put her entire career in jeopardy when she did that, and I'm sure she's fired now. Can't be representing a company like that. No company wants their people doing that shit. Like, when keeping it real goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the same time, what did she say? There's a stereotype right now of Karens in the world. So it's, she could have been a Karen. But I mean, she's 67.
She definitely looked like a Karen. I'll say that.
I mean, she obviously didn't say something nice. if she said something nice, it wouldn't have been a punch to the back of the head. Because I mean, you don't just come out of yourself like that for no reason. So she had to have said something very inconsiderate. And I mean, that's the thing you got to consider. This lady is concerned with one package from one person. This Amazon lady's got to deliver 1,000 packages today to loads of inconsiderate and just unapologetic people who are just only concerned about themselves and not the amount of work that this lady has to do. And that's unfair, you know? So, I mean, I don't know what that lady was going through, the Amazon worker was going through that day, but she had enough. I mean, it's tough,
Uh,
man.
I found an article, and on one of the articles, the apartment complex owner was cited as saying, I believe the Amazon driver said something about your white privilege. And the tenant responded, "You don't need to be a bitch about it," turned around and walked away. So that's one person's account of, what was said. That's not enough. If you're gonna
That
take
doesn't
it
sound like
on the strength of that, that's not enough for somebody to just lose their cool. Unless kind of like, kind of how you said, that person's day was already bad, right? That person's day was already bad, and you got this one person gawking up in their ear about their packages and it being late, when there may, and isn't an excuse, be external factors that this person's just not thinking about, you know.
you got to think about it like this. There's a lot of people who are always unhappy when their packages are not 100% exactly the way they expected them to be on time, or on their time, I should say. Because I tell you one thing I've noticed with Amazon, they're pretty much almost always on time
Hmm.
in a reasonable amount of time, but it's never good enough for a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
the people. For a lot of the people receiving the package, it's like, why isn't this like here, like right now? It's like, calm down. Like the package is coming in an amount of time that 10, 15 years ago would stagger you. You know what I mean? Like people now are just like, oh, it's not here in 10 hours. Like what the heck? You know, it's
Hmm.
coming across the country in a day. Meanwhile, like 15 years ago, it'd be like you'd be lucky if you get it in 2 to 4 weeks, you know? So people's expectations are way too high. And it's
Way too high,
really
brother.
and that's really why a lot of these Amazon employees are so taxed. They're so stressed, and like the ones who put up a good face and act kind and nice, my hat goes off to them, because I could not imagine doing customer service to people like that. You know what I mean? Especially in those upper privilegey areas. And I'm not talking about what kind of privilege, because everybody's got a little bit of privilege in them. You know what I mean? So it couldn't be me. I couldn't.
Hey man, I've had a lot of things said to me for various things or various times that I've put myself in certain positions, and I'm a calm guy. It takes a lot for me to really get riled up, and I'm afraid for the person that legit pushes my buttons to the point to where I I lose self control and just react. That is going to be a bad day for myself, and I know that. That's why I do a lot of different things to just practice self control. I also think about some of the demographics and things that I fall in. I'm a 260-pound black dude that's got unkempt facial hair. I need God should have did something to this prior to going live. So if something happens and somebody gets, what I'm saying, rolled up on, or 5 shows up, even if I'm defending myself, am I going to be the one that looks like the aggressor because of the demographic that I fall in? Even if I was trying to walk away and doing everything that I needed to do to physically
Yep.
get myself away from somebody that was aggressing to me, which has happened before. And luckily, there was video evidence that supported my version of the story, as well as people that were willing to step up and say, hey, that guy did nothing wrong. He was trying to walk away, and that person kept coming at him. So
Yeah, that's the scary part, man. Like, just any kind of interaction with the law, like it doesn't matter. Like it's already a crapshoot as it is, because how they interpret the scenario is could be dramatically different from what it is. And then you add in those things like, being a black male and stuff like that in this country. It's scary shit. Like, I don't
mhm.
I don't even want to deal with the police. And I'm what I've heard in entertainment as a white passing Hispanic. That's a new term I heard this week,
Yeah, that's new to me.
which I found insulting. But I mean, it is true. I pass for white, but even with that, I'm I don't want to deal with the police. I don't want to deal with anybody. I stay in the house most days anyways because I'm just so tired of the world. Everybody's just shit to each other, man. It just drives me nuts.
Hey man, part of the world, quote unquote, is actually a factor into what this episode is primarily going to be about. So let's transition over to that, man. And the topic of the day, whoosh, sound effects. What does it mean to make it? What does it mean to make it? Now, what brought this up is I was having a conversation with an old friend of mine, and me and him was having a conversation, and this guy's luck hasn't been the best. And I say his luck hasn't been the best, but I'll also say, and I told him I was going to talk about him. He know who he is. He's a bit lazy, and I've had to explain to him, I was like, hey man, like where I'm at now, and this isn't even me saying that I've made it, but where I'm at now, I didn't just fall into this. You know what I'm saying? I've had a bit of work that I've done to, get to where I'm at. Certain acquired knowledge that I've, gained over the years, and different principles and, steps that I've taken to kind of help maintain and make sure that, you know, unless barring something crazy happening, I don't fall into the poverty line and things like that. But what he said to me was, "Hey man, you've made it, man. I see you out there on social media, doing this and doing that, traveling here, man. Been around the world, bro. I'm trying to get like you." And I'm like, "Hey man, I'm no." And it's something that me and you've talked about too. Like what's shown on social media. People show you the good things. You don't necessarily see the bad things that people go through. But it made me think. Have I made it? Because his words, unless he was just paying me lip services, I've made it, man, and I don't feel that way whatsoever. So when you hear something like that, have you made it, Joe? Let me ask you: have you made it?
See, I don't think I have. But it's complicated, and I always say that, and that should be my new coined phrase. But it's complicated. Um, I do I consider myself successful? Yes. Do I think I've made it? No. I mean, there's a lot of things I still want to do. Um, Even with these things that we do here, like this is cool. This is more than most people do. We're having fun doing this, and we're reaching out to people, and we're connecting and stuff like that. That doesn't that is making it, but we haven't made it. Like, I don't know, and that's the thing is I don't feel unaccomplished either. Like,
Mm,
I, I'm successful in what I do for a living. I have fun doing what I do in my personal time. And I love my family and I have a great time with them. So I mean, one could say that I have made it, but I feel like when other people take a look at what you have and just say you made it, I feel like that's it's diminishing.
yeah.
Like, because there is so much that goes on behind the scenes. There's so much work and blood and sweat and tears that goes into the things that we do, especially for those of us who spent time in the military. There's literal blood, you know, like it's not just a phrase. Um, a lot of people don't get that's a thing. Like I have a thing with uh, with parts of my family, for example, where I feel like they see what you have and they're like, man, you got some cool shit. Like in their head, I think they want that, but they don't realize all the work that went in to get it. So like you could give somebody some like your things. Like I could give somebody all of my shit, but because they don't know what it takes to maintain it, it'll be gone. Like it'll
Hmm.
it'll it'll be wasted. Um, and I think that's what people don't get.
Yeah.
So like I would say that you don't just make it, you're constantly making it. Because to be a made person, you gotta work hard. Like, you know what I mean? You gotta keep at it. It's all work. And attaining more and more things is more and more work. Like,
Yes.
you can't tell me Jeff Bezos isn't making moves on a daily, minute by minute basis. Like, I can almost guarantee that 95% of his life is just constant moves, like meeting and meeting and project and coordination and signing shit and buying shit and selling shit. Like, you don't make that kind of money. You're not at the top because you're just fucking lazy. Like, it takes a level of performance that most of us can't comprehend. That's why we're not in that bracket. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And it's not to say it's unattainable. It is improbable, but I mean, somebody we know could be a billionaire. They could be a billionaire ready to be made, and either the circumstance never comes, the motivation never comes, or it comes and it just randomly out of nowhere comes because they come up with the $1 billion idea, $1 million idea, whatever, sell it, market it, cut it, push it, bam, they're like huge. But it takes the work to get there. I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know. I don't think I have made it, but I feel like I'm making it.
Gotcha. I feel like I'm making it, man. I'm trying to wipe this. Dude, I got a toothpaste stain because I brushed my teeth, man, right before this, and yeah, that's bothering me. It is bothering me.
You can
Anyway,
barely see it. You can barely see it.
all right. Hey, man, life's a journey, man,
It
and
is.
when I go back and I think about my journey, I think about how I got here. So let's walk through that. Let's walk through my journey. When I was in high school, I went from a primarily all black or mostly black city school to a mostly white county school, and it wasn't even 4 miles up the road from each other. And I transferred at the second half of my sophomore year of high school, and it was a culture shock for me, brother. It was a complete culture shock because just culturally, a lot of things were different. You know, now I like to think that really allowed me to kind of expand my thought base to stuff that was different because we had the internet back then, right? But it was that dial up. Could nobody be, on the phone? Otherwise, you would lose your connection. Super slow. But as I'm exposed to line dancing, and country and going mudding and how much fun that is versus things that had I never gone to that school, who knows when I would have had an opportunity to experience and kind of do things like that, right?
Yeah, if ever.
Yep, if ever. Now, when I was in high school, I played high school football, and I ain't gonna toot my own horn, but I was, I won some awards and things, and got recognized for playing sports, and had an opportunity to play college. Chose to go into the military. When I went to go to MEPS, right, and talk to the recruiter and do all of that stuff that everybody has to do on a basic level to get qualified and go into the branch of service, I knew I wanted a job that allowed me to travel. I wasn't thinking that I was going to be so fortunate enough to actually get that job, but I did know that in order to improve my chances, I needed to score as high on the ASVAB as possible so that I
Mm.
qualified for everything. So I set a goal, studied my ass off, and I'm fortunate enough that I've always had good study habits, if you will, and literally made a high enough score that I could and did qualify for every job that I wanted to go into in the Air Force. So that next step meant, you know, picking my job, and I was fortunate enough to walk in and say, I like a job that allows me to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was given three jobs that I didn't know what they meant or what they did, so much back then. But even knowing what I know now, any one of those jobs that I picked would have allowed me to really travel and see the world. So I was pretty fortunate enough for that. But I bring all of this up to say that my journey didn't start with me having a silver spoon or anything, like that. I can recall the times that with my parents and kind of how their situation and makeup was, we had to take baths where the hot water was generated over the stove, and we stood in a bucket, like a little tin can bucket thing, and we bathed ourselves in that bucket,
Mm-hmm.
and cleaned ourselves and got ready for school by, and having warm clothes by either putting our clothes by the oven or, putting it through an iron multiple times and then putting it on real quick so we could warm ourselves up prior to, throwing on some jacket that was probably a hand me down and going off, what I'm saying, towards the bus stop. I remember that stuff, right? And my dad did everything in his power to make sure that we at least had the basic stuff. We always had the basic stuff. We always had food. We always had a place to stay. And for that, I will always be grateful. But it reminded me, as I became an adult, to think about those times, when we didn't have a lot. And my dad is an Army vet. There was a transition after he got out, where that transition didn't go pretty smooth. And I understand this now as an adult. And even at his age where he's about to retire, I think if I asked him, hey, Dad, have you made it? I believe that he will say personally he had neither. And he will say also too that a lot of his own poor choices kind of led into that. And for me, going from a kid to an adult to where I'm at now, um, I've had plenty of opportunities that have been presented to me. Some that I've taken, some that I didn't. That I want to highlight too when it comes to getting to where you can make it. I think if you wrap everything up in a bow, man, um, like where you talked about with Jeff Bezos, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it does require hard work on your part. Nobody can do the work for you.
Yeah.
You know, um, it requires being in kind of the right situation and set up and networking, but also putting yourself there.
Mm-hmm.
Us doing this, for example, I wasn't quite sure how to work OBS or using some type of software as a service like Restream uh, to make this thing happen. But we took the time, sat down, did the research, and figured out what worked and what didn't. We didn't just go, "Yep, that seems like too much work. I don't want to do this shit."
Yeah.
you know
Yep.
and who knows, man, like we're doing this now because we like doing this. You like having fun doing it. We had a really good episode last week where we had people in the chat
Yep.
involved in contributing to the conversation, man. Like, to me, us making it with the Just Joking podcast would be, we have a pretty consistent audience base that tunes in during our streams, and they're active.
Mm-hmm.
They're you know they're contributing. That's how I am going to measure making it for this podcast. In my personal life, making it's going to be when I don't have to work anymore. I envision the time where I can wake up and do whatever I want to do, and I have the finances to make that happen. And I'm busting my ass to get there now, man. So that's my definition, man, of uh, of making it. That's my metrics, if you will. Let me
Nice.
be able to wake up and go, you know what? I'm gonna catch a flight to Spain. Spend 2 or 3 days there, do some sightseeing, learn the culture, right? Immerse yourself into the culture, and really see the world. That's my definition, man, of making it, brother. So I'm busting my ass now to make that a reality.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what it's all about. Like, I mean, I honestly feel like if the journey is great, because it's not about the destination for, really, because ultimately we're all going to the same place. We're all going to the same destination. It's all
Hmm.
the things you do before you get there that matters, and how
Yes.
you got there and all that stuff in between. Um, I mean, that's the thing for me too, because like my life started off pretty poorly. I guess you could say too. We lived off government food for a while. We had it pretty rough too, and I was always told I wasn't going to go anywhere. I wasn't going to do anything. I wasn't going to make it. Um, and I don't remember really having anybody in my corner.
Yeah.
So I kind of made moves based off of just my I don't want to say hate, but spite. I mean, I didn't enjoy what was being told to me and what I was experiencing. So um, ultimately, I made a move. I made a choice. I decided to join the army. I told them I wanted to do stuff where I fix things. I like to fix things. So they gave me a technology job or a communications job, I should say. Um, fixing stuff. And I got to travel a little bit around the world, a little bit around the country too, and I did immerse myself in the culture in some of the places that I've been to. So it was really cool. So in a way, I've done the things that I wanted to do in life. Like even now that I think like if I wanted to go travel in the world and stuff like that, I've already done that. And not that I'm all tapped out, but if I don't do any more traveling, I've done it. I've been to a handful of not more than a handful. Like I've been to almost 10 different countries, and I've experienced the cultures and stuff. So in a way, that was part of making it.
Hmm.
It's part of getting to that end goal of having traveled. Hey, what's up, Aaron?
Hey,
Uh,
what's up, Aaron? Thanks for joining.
um, so yeah. I think for me, my making it is I want to be published. I want to write a book and I want to get it published, and I keep getting in my way. So I keep trying to talk about it to like maybe talk it into reality. You know what I mean? Um,
If you were to cogitate on what's stopping you, what do you think is your biggest barrier for that goal of being published?
I think because I don't know how, like I don't know the science behind writing a book. Like I feel like I won't get it right. You
Okay.
know what I mean? Like I don't know the nuances. Yeah, it's my word, Aaron. Don't let him fool you. That's just, no, I'm kidding. No, that's good. Let's use big words. Let's use more big words. Um, let's spread the love and make everybody else intelligent, or more intelligent. Everybody's smart. Let's make them smarter. Um, but no, I I get in my own way when it comes to thinking about writing a book. Like I think, oh, I'm just not going to get it right, or it's not going to be great. And what I should do is write it, try to see if somebody will publish it. They'll tell me what I'm doing wrong and maybe help me fix it, and then go from there. So, but that's my making it. That's what I want to do. Like if I do that, I don't care if I don't even make money. That's the beauty of making it. Like it's not
Mm.
even about making money off of it. It's about being able to say that I wrote a book and it was published and people can read it. To know that I've maybe inspired somebody else or changed the way somebody feels or thinks, or maybe my book gets somebody takes that years later and writes another book that's a masterpiece, but they were inspired by my book. Or they feel like they could take my book and make it into a movie or something, or a TV show, and people can see my creation. Like that for me is everything. And it's not about the money. It's like if I made money off it, fucking great, awesome. Maybe now I can start focusing solely on making more stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where I'm not like busting my ass 9 to 5 trying to figure everything out and trying to make time to make a book. But I want to be able to say that I left something behind
Okay.
that maybe ends up in the Library of Congress or something. So somebody can look at it 100 years from now and say, "Damn, somebody wrote a book 100 years ago. It's really good." I mean, we're still talking about The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and all that stuff, and
Yes.
that was 50 years ago, or more. I think it was published in 50 something or 40 something. I don't remember, but I mean, come on. I mean, imagine being able to I won't be around, but imagine like my children's children could say, great grandpa wrote that book, that would be awesome.
Yeah, man, and that goes into something that, man, I kind of think about constantly, right? And that's like legacy, right? Because
Exactly.
you can say too, that you might not be around to be able to know that you've had this kind of impact,
Hmm.
but to a certain generation, right? You've made it. People are talking about Edgar Allan Poe in English, lit, courses and things like that, and his stuff is studied. Imagine being a descendant, of that guy, to where
Yeah.
somebody in your history, you know, had accomplished that, and even though you had nothing to do with it, to me that kind of generational legacy can be important.
I,
Oh.
I would say this, that I feel like artists, poets, people who create are the ones who get remembered. Like Jeff Bezos is a rich dude, but aside from being really rich, how are we going to remember him? Like, is anybody even going to talk about him in 50 years? Probably not, unless there's like the Bezos Foundation. But even then, after a while, people are going to forget about the person who created it.
Mm,
Unless you
that's,
do something with all of that money, something incredible. Like, what's the point?
hmm,
Sure
hmm.
he's made it, but is he making it? You know what I mean? Like, that's why I like, it's not the reason I want to write a book, but that's something that would make me feel accomplished. It would make me feel like more than that little boy that everybody's told would never make it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that's for me like the big thing, the big ticket item.
Okay. And you know what? Why in that area? Because you're not like from that occupation, if you will. Like that's not your mainstay. Like if you were a newscaster, making it would be going from like local sports news to like ESPN. That's on like a national level. So why that for you?
I think honestly, if my life had taken a different path, I would have been like an English professor or something like that.
I
I
can
mean,
see that.
see,
Yeah.
and so that's the connection. So like when I was in high school, and I don't know if I've told this story before, but I love telling the story.
Let's hear it.
When I was in high school, yeah, I told you one of my English teachers. She introduced me to Shakespeare.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
you did.
and she introduced me to Broadway plays, not just me, the whole class. But she introduced us to Broadway plays and to like Shakespeare and Dante's Inferno and like these really amazing epic written pieces. And I mean, I've gotten quotes from like Macbeth on my arm, and from other I have quotes from other different books and stuff like that. But I've been a fan of literature for the last 20 some odd years. I've read. I have like 100 books in a bookshelf, just that I've read. And I buy books all the time that I'll eventually read, or I'll read when I have time. And like I just the other day bought Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, like the OG Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I mean, and just stuff like that. Like I love escapism through art, like books, movies, and ultimately, I love to see the interpretation of books in film form. It's really cool to see, um, especially in mediums where there's not a lot of illustrations. Like there's been a lot of illustrations of Lord of the Rings over the years, for example, but in the original books, I don't know that there were like I don't know if there was original illustrations of what everything was supposed to look like, but I do know over the years they've come up with interpretations of that. And then ultimately we saw Peter Jackson's creation on the big screen. To know that to read that story as a kid and then to see the movies come out, and now that we're going to have a TV show soon, that's another interpretation of the Amazon thing that cost them like $1 billion to make. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be insane. It better be epic, man. For them to spend that kind of money, it better make a lot of money. But anyways, it's amazing to see what those books inspire in others.
Okay.
Like Peter Jackson's career. Peter Jackson was a great director long before Lord of the Rings, but to see what he did with Lord of the Rings and what it did for his career too is also impressive to see. But to see all of that play out on the big screen, like if I live long enough to see what I create on the big screen, I'm going to be really happy. But if I don't, then my kids will, or their kids will, So I don't know. I think aspirations like that are important. Like even if I never succeed, I'm not going to feel like first off, I don't think I'm going to let myself ever get old enough to be like I should have did it when I was younger. But I feel like having those dreams inspires us to do better things and to be better people. And I think I don't know Jeff Bezos. I love the caricatures they make of him in like South Park and stuff like that. But unless he takes that money and really does something with it, like something meaningful, he's just going to be a footnote in the history of the country and the world. He's just going to be another billionaire, just another dude with lots of money. And that money's going to go somewhere and it's going to either get squandered, it's going to get misused, it's going to get appropriated, and ultimately it's not going to mean anything because he ain't taking that shit with him unless he decides to burn it all up when he dies. But my thing is do people like him get remembered 100 years in the future, or do the artists get remembered? We still quote Socrates and Plato, dudes 2,000 years ago. You know what I mean? We're still talking about them. The artists, the creators, the people who inspire others. Those are the people who get talked about.
Yes, yes. I am big on people that can be remembered because they were inspiring, man. Like I can tell you a lot of different people who I've met. No, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I can mention the people that I've met over the years that even if I only met them one time, they said something or did something that just left me so awed and so inspired that I cannot forget their names. But I've had plenty of interactions where I've interacted with people on multiple times. And if you know me, for people that know me, I don't remember names for shit.
Yeah.
I can't recall names to save my life. And that's not a knock against you, but it also means that you didn't inspire me either, because I can give you the name of every single body that has been very inspirational to him, whether I knew him personally or not, man, came my lifetime. And I think that there's something to that, just kind of, that impact that you can have by doing that. And there's plenty of different people that you can name across different realms. And I believe that you connected something there too, like people in the arts. Because I think that no matter kind of where you come from, um, there's not a lot of people that really delve into sports. Like I think that sports is like a nationally known thing, and that if you're, like a major league soccer player or basketball or football player, that people, know who these people are because they're
Oh yeah.
tied to brands that are national as well, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think that people that have impact in the arts and government, right? Because governments run things. So if you can be somebody that falls into a certain state or station in government, and you're able to inspire people, whether people agree with you or not, which is so stupid to me. How you can be somebody and whatever your measurement of success and improvement is, because of who you're aligned with, people are just going to automatically
Just
write
write
you
you off.
off.
Yep.
That's a whole different podcast episode. It's just that still, it's baffling to me though that we have people that can't critically think uh to be able to give somebody props for the measures and things that they're able to approve and get past, and you know, and things, but they write them off because they're leftist or from the right or red or blue or whatever, all these different divisive things that we create, to put people in certain boxes, man. Ah, I'm riled up if you can't tell. um, Let me ask you this, because we are getting up towards our hour here. You have kids,
Hmm.
both you and I have children. um are you doing anything that you can think of that is setting them up to be able to make it?
I'm trying to. We're teaching them a second language and then hopefully a third. Um, we're teaching them German, and then
Cool.
once we feel like they have a good grasp of the German language, we're going to start to speak. We're going to start teaching them Spanish. We're a little late in the game, but we got a lot of time over the summer. For example, like we come up with phrases and sentences, and we teach them how to say it. We say it for a few days, and we move on to a new one. But we go back to the old ones to make sure that they memorize them and they keep them in their head. Um, we send them to camps over the summer um, to see. We're trying to figure out what their gifts are. Like we figured out my oldest, her gift is art. She can draw like really well. Like and it's impressive because she can draw from memory, which to me I can't understand. So it's something that clearly is a gift for her. So
Mhm.
we try to encourage that. We try to build on that. We'll send her to like art classes and art programs and art appreciation type stuff. And with the youngest, we're still trying to figure out what that gift is. She's very sporty.
Mhm.
She's done gymnastics and ice skating, and she's really good with those things. So I'm hoping and so we're thinking maybe that's her gift. So um, we'll send them to camps over the summer, like to different things to see where their strengths lie or what inspires them, and then throughout the year of school we'll let them do extracurriculars if they want um, to see what they're into. um, so we're just trying to find what makes them happy, and I think that's setting them up for success. I think as best as I think anybody can. um, I try to teach them how to speak with big words, like we do. Um, I've never talked to them like they were babies. I've always talked to them like they're smart enough to understand.
Same. Hmm.
Yeah, and that's worked out pretty well. The conversations I've had with my kids are pretty impressive to me. And I'm not telling them, I'm not like, oh, you're really smart. I mean, I do when they get good grades and stuff like that, or they'll say something, and I'll be like, you know what? That was a very adult thing to say. I really appreciate what the thought you put into what you just said. so they know they're appreciated and that they're making the right choices and doing the right things and thinking the right way. I hope that leads them to success. We never can tell.
Mm. Hey man, yeah, I'm on my side, one of the things that I notice and that I want to try to correct, if you will, course correct, is finances. Like growing up, my parents didn't necessarily talk about finances, that often. I never had a grasp or understood,
Mm,
how the family finances were because, it just wasn't talked about. It wasn't a family thing that was talked about. We had an introduction to it in high school, but it was just like a segment or whatnot. And when I think about people that, by my metrics, when I look at how they are or kind of have a general idea of how they are, they've quote unquote made it. Is they understood the value of currency and how to use it. So for me, uh, one of the focuses that I have, because I have a child that is about to go into high school, the last 4 years that really shape, kind of how things are going, and in my opinion, is one of the stepping stones that, it's that last little stepping stone before you become a full blown adult. One of the things that I'm working on that I'm going to start and try to make every day count is have her understand and have a handle on finances.
mm,
Now, there's a couple of different things that I'm thinking about. Um, and Aaron even said down here, I've been saying for years that there should be a curriculum: saving money, balancing checkbooks, investing, kind of like exactly. And
mm,
also, new, who knows if it's going to be in our lifetime or my lifetime anyway. But we've kind of gone away from cash. Like I don't keep cash on me the way that
yeah.
people kind of tended to keep cash on them back in the day, stuffing money under mattresses because they don't believe in banks or anything like that. Now, for the most part, you can get away with not necessarily having a bank, if you will, depending on how you choose to live,
Mm,
because you could get paid electronically, use your money electronically. Every store that you go to, you might catch something about there being like a national coins, shortage, and that's here in the U.S. by the way. And who knows what the value of the dollar is going to be in 20 years if we keep printing money and spending it all willy nilly. But I bring all that up to say that you know trying to teach my daughter how to manage finances is going to be a little bit different for me because how it worked for me, growing up is understanding, balancing the checkbook. I don't use a check. I ain't had a checkbook in years, bro. But teaching her, hey, money in versus money out, and how to really save and spend according to what is a priority for you and what you want to do, and to be able to forward think as well.
mm,
That's one of my big things that I'm pushing, for her. And it's gonna start with this. So my daughter was born overseas in Japan, and but she was a child when she was born there. So she don't really recall what how things were when we were there. So in 2022, but in 2023, should be about 16. Um, we're going to plan a trip where we're starting now to fly from the US to Japan. And I'm involving her in all of the budgetary processes. So that is how much does it cost to fly over there? Where are we staying? What activities um, are we doing? And not only am I doing that to help her, but it's also to keep me accountable too, so that
mm,
she can see that dad's just not talking about, planning and saving for this trip. She's going to see the dollars and cents that's being put back because we're going to create a fund called Fly to Japan. And she's going to be an active participant in understanding what it means to, save and go to a trip, because for now, the way things operate is if she wants something, she asks mom and dad, and if we get it, we can. but the way that we budget and things like that. And I want to change that so that she understands, what it means to, have to save or make decisions about what you can and can't do because of your finances. I was just always told, we can't do this, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I never really knew how much my parents made. Mom didn't work, so my dad was the sole, earner. But I never saw the account. I never knew how much money we had in checking savings if we ever had savings. I never saw that. So I want to open up my daughter to that early, so that when she's ready to fly, if you will, whatever she chooses to do, because I ain't gonna be the one to, hey, you're 18, you gotta go. And my parents didn't do that to me, by the way. I chose to leave because I wanted to go and see the world. Plus, how do I say this? My mom was somebody that used to yell all the time. Don't get me wrong, but golly, sometimes I want to tell her, shut up. Like, I stopped and was getting yelled at all the time, and I wish that I got whoopings instead. Anyway, off subject. I'm not going to kick my daughter, out just because, she's an adult, but I want to help prepare her and set her up, but also teach her the value of working hard to attain the things that she
Yeah.
wants in life. And I think that starts with the understanding of finances. So that's me attempting to set her up to
Yeah.
quote unquote make it. I was able to bring it back.
That's good. That's good. I mean,
Aaron in the
that's all
comments said that he's been teaching Jax that just because you don't see money anymore, you swipe and not know how much you actually have. We didn't have a day. Hey man, that's true, bro. I remember. I must speak for me. uh, on times that you needed to know how much you had, but sometimes you're like, man, I I just hope I got this 20 something dollars in this account to be able to get this out because I know I'm getting paid tomorrow. But man, let this thing go through right now. It should
I've
have
been there.
checked.
Yep, I've been there.
But
Constantly getting that printout from the ATM so you know exactly how much you got in your account because you
oh
can't just
man.
look it up.
hmm well, hey man, we are coming up on the hour. Did you have a word of the day for this episode or not?
I do.
Okay, let's hear it, man.
All right. Parlance.
Parlance?
Parlance. Yeah.
Parlance. All right.
Hmm.
So parlance. Parlance is where you take an opportunity that was good or bad and you flip it to make it good. It's kind of like parlay, if I'm thinking about parlay right. Parlance.
No, not even
Damn.
close. All
Okay.
right. A particular way of speaking or using words, especially a way common to those with a particular job or interest.
Okay. And spell the word.
Parlance.
Parlance. A particular way of speaking words. Dot dot dot. Especially.
A way common to those with a particular job or interest.
Okay. Job
So
or
if you think about like somebody in the movie business is going to use movie words and terms, like how they, uh, you know, like technical terms that are only really relative to what they're doing and what they're talking about. So
okay.
that's parlance. That's how you would speak.
Got you. It's kind of like the way you talk, just kind of around, like certain people. Like if you were in um, a movie room about or a room about writing a script
Yeah,
or something, there'd be a certain way that you would talk,
yeah.
certain
They
lingo
have,
based
yeah, they
off
have
of kind of
certain terms for certain things that you do when you're writing, and that would be parlance.
parlance. All right,
Yeah,
okay. Hey man, parlance. I put it right there on the screen for those of y'all that are able to catch us out on YouTube. Well, hey man, we made it through an hour. This hour always goes quick. I
it
like it.
does. Yeah,
That means I'm having fun. It means I'm having a good time. It means that we're staying busy.
yeah.
For
I
those
hope
of
other
y'all,
people are having fun too.
Yeah, man, exactly. For those of y'all that tuned in live, thank you. For those of y'all that are going to watch this after we've had it live, you can check us out on YouTube at Just Joking Podcast. We also have a public facing Facebook page where we have the videos as well. If you just search Just Joking Podcast, it comes right on up. Trust me, I've done it. As well as we're going to have these on audio, which the audio will be a little bit different because some of the stuff that we do is very visual, but the main points you'll be able to catch. If you're just riding and you want something to listen to, throw us on. I haven't been good about putting the podcast up on the audio form, but I'll take care of that. Your boy will get that fixed. Also, leave a comment down below and let us know on YouTube what your definition of making it is, or come to our Facebook page, which I will also leave in the description box. It's a public facing Facebook page. Find where this video is at and leave a comment and let us know what your definition of making it is. This is the Just Joking podcast, and we're out. Peace.